Hi, I'm Brooke, and today I have a special guest, Amanda, and she's going to share with us what her carnivore journey has been like. Hi, Amanda.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming and share with us. It's great. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Yay.
So let me just get started with what were things like for you before you started eating a meat-based diet?
Oh, let's go there. Let's go there. So, like all persons, actually, I'll just really briefly just summarize for your audience. That basically, I got really sick. My organs started failing, and I had to quit my job. And this was like 6 years ago. And then I went on a healing journey because mainstream medicine didn't help and actually made me worse. So then I started on my healing journey. And of course, what's interestingly ironic is I went through every single mythos of what does it take to heal. And that includes like extremes. Like I went, I did regular mainstream American healthy first to make sure I covered my bases, and that didn't work. And then I heard this thing about plant-based. Okay. So then I went plant-based, and then I went alkaline plant-based, and then I went raw plant-based, and then I went fruitarian, and then I did all those things. And then it turns out 6 years later, at the end of the rope and at the end of the road, I was like, the only thing left is raw meat. And then I started on that.
So,
And I felt like life rushed back into me.
so you started eating raw meat.
Yes, that's when I started trying it because I had gone so deep into the raw world that it just felt more natural to start there.
So were you only eating raw meat for a while?
Yes.
And,
And it
and-
tasted wonderful.
yeah. So what did you feel different?
Oh my God. I felt like my brain started coming on, my sense of reason, my sense of self, my sense of well-being. I mean, I was crying because it was like I had no idea how bad that I was missing these nutrients from my life. And this is even before I discovered about organs. I was just starting I was just doing the whole healing circuit on, what people say helped them. And this was the last stop, so to speak. And it's ironically good because then I can tell people what's wrong with all the other ways.
So
So.
what happened when you started eating raw? I mean, then you stopped.
Yes. So then I stopped because we were going into, let's see, I'm trying to think here. We were going into summer here, but I wasn't prepared for the bacterial changeover that happens. And A. Jonas talks a lot about that, about the detoxification methods of raw. And I didn't feel like reading stuff because I was just so out of it, honestly, from all the raw and everything that I just didn't have focus to be able to read his stuff, to be honest. So I just was kind of winging it. And then I had a bacterial overgrowth because I did it too quickly. And then I was like, oh, it was just too strong of a detox effect because the bacteria changeover was too aggressive. So then I had to back off of that, which I also cried about that because I knew it felt so good, but I couldn't. But somehow I had to rebalance stuff, and that took a while to rebalance.
What can I ask you? What meat were you eating? Was it just beef or lamb or?
Oh, great question. I did pork belly. That was super delicious. It's really soft and really delicate in flavor, and it's just feeling heartwarming. Honestly, it's really good. And then I did chuck roast, just raw. I just would cut it and eat it. And that one always felt like really primal to me and really nourishing. I did raw bacon, which is just pork belly, but they just slice it that way. And those were, I'd say, the main ones because I didn't really, well, every now and then I think I got some steak. And I didn't do raw chicken. It was like still cultural mindset a little bit in there, but I do some now. I just do a little quick little rinse and maybe a quick sear on the outside, and I eat it pretty much raw, and it's amazing. It's really good. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So you're eating raw for a while and it felt great, and
Yeah.
then you had to stop.
Yep.
And then when did you come back to?
I came back June, July. I was like, okay, I've got to keep trying this. And I think like periodically I'd try or whatever. And but I was having histamine response, and that would create incredible cytokine storms in my body where my body would just inflame and shut down. And, you know, it was really tricky trying to figure out what the hell do I eat? How do I introduce these foods again? Because my stomach acids were really super low. And that made it really hard for digestion and for my body to adapt properly to any change whatsoever, even though my food choices were diminishing, you know.
Can you talk a little bit about the histamine response, what that was like for you? What is it like? What did you see? What are the symptoms?
Oh, it was awful. So basically, usually how it presents for most people is, which is the same way it presented for me, it was just an increasing number of foods you were allergic to, which, you know, that's a tough word because it's like, what does that mean? What does that mean in your body, right? I mean, I think all of us understand, like, especially if you've ever had anything you're allergic to, basically you have a varied palette of responses you could get. For me, I would get, depending on the item, like basically, yeah, I just feel lethargic. My body would shut down. I would have like terrible mind storms of depressed and low thinking, where it was inescapable. And then once it went out the other end, I was fine, right? So like,
was it like hard on your bowels, or was it on your skin, or
no, I'm lucky that luckily I didn't get any strange bowel situations or skin things, but it was all, like, I'll tell you, mental health wise, it was absolute torture. That you can't operate yourself. You're not thinking in the right way. Your mind can sometimes speed up and be obsessive. So it was just really unpleasant as far as that goes. I was mentally debilitated, basically. It was really humbling.
And that was different than what you had been feeling before.
Yeah, so it was just got more extreme. So then I was like, okay, and then I figured out, like, I got some help with some other things that I used for other modalities, which actually calmed my system down enough so that I could receive animals again, because I knew that was where I had to go, because it felt so much better. And I was like, okay, here we go, let's try again, you know. And I'd start with the liver in particular, because by then I had learned about organs and their importance and their nutrient density, and I cannot emphasize that enough. And when I started eating, like, I'd say the most success came finally when I just stuck with grass-fed beef and liver, like, literally. And as soon as I did that, this was the most profound time, is like over a 6 to 10 week window when all I was eating was ground beef and liver. Like, I felt my life every time I ate it come back into my whole body and into my brain. And it just like surged like energy into my brain. The best I could say is like blood rushed to my brain, like really like giving me nourishment that I've been missing for so long. I mean, even before I got sick 6 to 7 years ago, I didn't eat much meat. Because, you know, females culturally aren't, you know, you don't eat meat, really.
You eat a little chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those white meats. Yeah.
Red meat. I know. Well, so when you were feeling good, was that raw again, or were you cooking the liver and the ground beef?
Yeah, I started out with cooking because I found out I could digest it quicker and easier at first, and that's good. But then I did notice like a little bit of PUFA, like a little bit of the same polyunsaturated fat effect, which is like a swelling and a swollen tissue effect. And I thought, I can't keep doing this, because I feel like cooking it to a certain degree like must mutate the animal fat in some way that's not positive in my body anyway. So then now I've gotten to this evolved place where I just kind of lightly warm it, really. And it's pretty much raw when I eat it. I mean, they call it blue cooked. You know, I have it that way. It's just completely.
You just feel the outside of your liver, or you just eat the liver raw?
Oh, I love liver raw, but the problem is I can't keep it long enough to eat enough, so I have to freeze it. And then when I freeze it, I just kind of rewarm it in hot water or boiling water, and then obviously it cooks a little bit because it has to when it gets reheated that way. So that's fine. But yeah, I don't find as much a problem with cooking liver as I did like high fat meats.
I was told once that liver was high in histamine. So people who had a histamine reaction in carnivore colleagues, they avoided organ meats, which I found that to be so unfortunate. But you don't find that to be the case for you.
No, well, at first, early on, I thought it was, and then I discovered kidneys. Like if you eat kidneys, that has natural DAO, which helps break down histamine. But actually, it's my conjecture that the problem is we've been so vitamin deficient from our B vitamin spectrum and our micronutrients of zinc and magnesium, which all come in these animal foods in great numbers and in the right proportions. That's the reason why our systems get out of whack, and that's why we get histamine responses. I really truly believe that. So you have to, at least from my experience, like as soon as you get to that point where you're getting enough nourishment, everything changes.
Nice. And so
Yeah.
did you use kidneys? Did you eat a lot of kidneys at first during that?
Yeah, yes. I bought lamb's kidneys. They're mild and they're easy to eat. I ate them raw at first, but like I said, you have to eat them real fresh, otherwise they go bad fast. And I didn't want to go to the store every day or the butcher every day, so I ended up freezing them, and then I'd freeze them and cut them into pieces and freeze them, and then I just cook them in quick boiling water really quick just to get them warmed up and cooked so I could eat it. And yeah, it was really good. But raw is also always the best. It's always the best.
Would you think that eating just a little bit of kidney with every meal for someone who was suffering with histamine response could maybe be helpful for them?
Yeah, definitely. At first, you're going to have to do a transitional phase where you're going to have to eat. I'd say the kidney helps DAO levels in your body go up. It's like a resting rate, but it does deplete pretty quickly. So you do have to kind of build it first, and then you can add in like beef because it is a little bit aged. It does have some histamine in it, right? So if you're super sensitive like I was, I would say, ramp up the kidneys first and then start introducing other meats like here and there. And then ideally, like I really do think it's beef centric, like seriously, like that's the most nutrient dense one with all the vitamins that we're all missing, every single one of us in modern times, whether they're supposedly eating animals or not. They're not getting enough B vitamins. And that's the truth, because mainstream, they're getting corn-fed beef, which is crap, really. I mean, no offense. I mean, any beef is better than none. But really, it's the grass-fed because the omega balances and it natural balances the B vitamins as well. Like there's so many anti-inflammatory properties of grass-fed, grass-finished beef that it seriously, hands down, is the #1 healing tool out there. I really feel that way.
Good. Yeah. I was reading recently, I think it was like 400 new other components or something that is in beef, particularly.
I believe it.
Components. So it's pretty special.
It is very special. It's like really, it makes you feel love, honestly.
You are. There's a lot of lamb, another red meat.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good meat. That's a great meat too.
Oh yeah, I like lamb. I liked lamb chops when I started.
Yeah. So when you went back to carnivore, you're still eating pretty raw or close to raw.
Yeah.
Meat. And what else are you eating?
I just have some low carbohydrate vegetables on occasion, but honestly, I always keep in mind, the main meal is the animal, that the rest is just decoration, and it's just for pleasantry of my own variations of need of feeling like something's different, right? It's a modern disease of our mind of how we have variety, but it's like we don't really need it, to be honest. I just think a lot of it's left over from, just the comfort of chewing. Let's be honest, it's the comfort of chewing and feeling like you're doing something. So, but really, you don't need as much.
Are you fasting now? Do you do intermittent fasting or?
Yeah, I cycle fast. I vary my fasting window so my body can't be predicted. Like it can't predict what I'm doing. So I just follow the natural rhythms of my body, and in theory that kind of goes with the moon cycle, which I think is interesting. I haven't actually paid attention, but it'd be interesting to see if it really does follow the moon cycle. I don't know. But I do go from extremes of like, I don't feel like eating today, 24 hours straight easy, to wow, okay, I'm ready to feed again. And I'm eating for like 16 hours or something, like actually a long eating window. So I think that's actually more natural.
When that happens, what are you eating? Exactly.
Oh yeah, animals. I eat a lot of animals. But actually, I'm most looking forward to reintroducing on occasion some dairy because I've had a lot of trouble just trying to digest that, even though early in my life I had no trouble digesting it. But recently I've actually reintroduced some dairy and I'm seeming to take most of it okay, except for, I wouldn't go for like an aged cheese or something right now. But and I felt so amazing just having some of that. And then I also had some sardines, which is so good because it's got so many omegas and good fats for you and the calcium. And it's just like, how are we not all living on this? This is amazing.
Do you eat suet?
What was that?
Do you eat suet? Do you
What's suet? I forget.
That's the kidney fat of the cow.
Oh wow, no, I haven't. How do you get that? Just ask your butcher.
Yeah, ask particularly for the suet, which is like a big capsule of fat around the kidneys, and it's really high in stearic acid. It's different than the rest of the fat.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm totally going to get that now.
Yeah. And so your fat, so you have, did you say PKD? Did you mention PKD?
I don't think I did. No.
Okay. So do you, you're including a lot of fat in your meat? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels good.
You can sort of saute the fat or you eat the fat raw. You might like the suet raw, actually. It has a very.
Yeah, I bet you. I bet you I would like it raw.
Cool.
That's the best part. It's so good. And I like that I can eat anything. I would say the one thing that I stay away from, but just genetically I'm noticing, and just depends upon your genetics and your family lineage and all that, and ancestry is pork. I don't do as well on pork,
Yeah, it might be the PUFAs.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. If they were eating more naturally, maybe it'd be okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. Although I did, when I was eating raw meat a lot, like for about 6 months I was eating mostly raw. I did like raw bacon a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Really raw, it's not, it's it's pickled.
Exactly.
So did you ever get into high meat?
Yes, absolutely. I did. But it was all cooked because of my prior initiation of the raw. So I would love to do, like, I actually mostly eat animal now. Like, it's just mostly that. It's just literally the rest is kind of decoration and filling. It's not really. And also I watch myself because the plants can, like, especially with the natural protectants it has, I do notice it. I feel it. And I'm like, oh, no, stay off of that today or for a week or longer. Like broccoli has some aggressive protective plant toxins and stuff. And I notice now, especially, and I cannot believe how smooth my experience is now on animals, especially after that beef refeed period. Like it was really intense. I did all of that. And that was like probably the second most profound health experience in my life was when I was refeeding with the beef, grass-fed beef, and the liver so much, and the kidneys. I'm really excited to try lamb's brain though. That's at my butcher, and I'm like, oh, I want to try that.
Yeah, it's good. I like lamb brain.
Yeah.
I was told by someone who has histamine problems that lemon is one of the highest in histamine foods in histamine. So, you found that to be the case too. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the citrus are very high histamine. So oranges and lemons and limes, and they're very high histamine, very much so. And then you have histamine liberators as well. So the whole histamine cycle is very complicated because you need histamine for your nervous system and for your brain function. But like I said, I think the metabolic cycles go out of whack when you don't have the proper nutrients, which is animal-based stuff, really. I mean, because the plants can't give it to you. Plus it has toxins that attack your system. It's like, I cannot believe how much on its head the whole narrative is versus what is reality. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, and I'm having such a smooth experience. Like, I've never felt so balanced and just graceful, and my mind is calm. Wow. And it's so good.
Liberator.
What was that?
You said histamine liberator. What's
Yes.
that? What is that?
So chocolate is an example of a histamine liberator. So what it does is in your system, it literally frees up the bound histamine because your body takes histamine and it binds it in certain molecules. And then just for storage and in case you need it. And when you eat histamine liberators, it removes it and activates the histamine from those molecules and puts them free in your system.
So do you get a reaction then, or does it help clean out the histamine, or do you get a histamine?
You get a reaction, yeah.
And
so it's a very complicated cycle.
That sounds like oxalates. So when you use when you said chocolate, is it the cocoa powder, or is it the cocoa butter?
Great question. I think it's the cocoa powder, honestly. I think the cocoa butter would be fine, but I'm not sure.
The cocoa butter is another high stearic acid, long chain fatty acid.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay, interesting. That's fascinating. I love learning this stuff. It's good.
And so how do you feel now? How do you feel like it's brought to you?
It's brought me vitality, mental stability, calmness, ability to flow with life, not less mental chatter. I don't really experience much of that because I'm one with how I live, and I don't have to worry about anything really because it's very balanced when you're eating well. Like you just are super calm. Your nervous system is really calm. And you just feel happy about life. It's really nice. It's what a contrast. It's like, it's unbelievably night and day. And I don't even feel like crying all the time or anything like that, which I felt like doing all the time when I was plant-based or not getting my nutrients. And I think a lot of these things are actually really hidden deficiency symptoms.
It's like carnivore zen that you're talking
about. Yes!
I think it's just so nourishing to the nervous system. When almost all of our life in modern day life is the opposite.
I so agree.
That is so great. You know, when you think of the percentage of people who are on anti-anxiety medications and psychiatric meds, it's really great to be free from that.
I know, it's so liberating. And actually, like I was saying before, and how you found me in that forum, it was so good that you found me, just like the other gentleman shared, it's like you went through the medical system and they just throw pills at you. And honestly, they don't even know the origin of where it's coming from. And they're just throwing pills. And it's like, that's really dangerous. It actually is really dangerous for him and for me and many people. It makes you much worse because it's not balancing what needs to be balanced. They're taking a guess. They think that certain chemicals are the master factor for depression. And that's not the case.
And making it worse, like you said.
Yes, it was awful. It was awful. It made it worse. I'm like, I'd rather deal with the depression than any of these symptoms going on. It was really horrific. And you're just listening to everybody around you because they're trying to help you, and they're just like, yeah, just go to the medical system, just go to a psychiatrist, just this and that. No, man, like you can't talk your way out of a B vitamin deficiency. It's never going to work. You can talk all day and night. Oh, the talk therapy helps. Yeah, only cope with your depression and the fact that you're not getting nutrients. Like that's what's happening here. And that's the scary part, is how do you communicate to all these people that, you know, and that's the other thing, is that was also the most profound thing about the therapeutic eating grass-fed beef, which, by the way, I'm never far away from grass-fed beef. I'm eating it every day. So it's not like, you know, every now and then I take like a one-day break, but it's there because it's like my best friend. It's like, I will never leave you. You will never leave me, and we'll be happy forever and free.
Can you share with us what a difference would be if you, for a few days, for a week, I don't know, weren't eating grass-fed beef, but we're eating commercial beef, or what? How would you feel?
So basically, if I ate commercial beef, it was just, you know, the non-grass-fed, the corn-fed, the soy-fed, immediately my body gets inflamed, my brain gets swollen, I feel sick to my stomach, actually, and those are the first symptoms. Luckily now, because I'm so nourished with the grass-fed beef in my liver and my organs, and I'm obsessed with my organs, they're so delicious, that I can go a number of days now and be okay. But as long as I don't put in my system something poisonous, you know, and I would consider corn-fed beef poison, really.
We'll have to call it corn finished.
Corn finish. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because you're still the canary in the coal mine for your own body and can
That's
sense
right.
it, I guess. Well,
That's
that's
right.
really interesting to hear because I mean, I'm sure there are some differences. I believe people feel the differences.
Mm.
I haven't myself, but I also don't think that there aren't any differences.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And that's good. That's good. That maybe means your body can handle certain types of things easier than mine can. Mine is just way more primal in a sense, like where it's like my body will tell me this ain't nature, you know?
You're like a canary, yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think that's so. Do you get like a cow share and buy a bunch of ground beef, or how do you do that?
Oh, yeah, good question. No, I go through a butcher who goes through people who have really good farms that are also grass finished. Because in Australia, they don't label and don't require labels for grass finished, which is unfortunate because it can say grass fed, but then it's corn finished or grain finished. So I made sure to vet, and luckily I'm in a neighborhood community with a very good conscientious butcher, and he's like, no, I only make sure that I know the farmers, and I'm like, okay, that's good. You're in my bucket. You're happy. I'm good. Like, give me the good stuff, man. Give me the good stuff. And he's like, I only carry the good stuff. I don't carry the other crap. That's the thing.
That is great.
And I'm grateful. Like, I'm really grateful. And I was going to say, just to all you people who think that you can solve nutrient deficiency with supplements, that's not correct. Actually, I was going to finish that part of the beef, therapeutic beef feeding part, is that I had taken vegan and all kinds of bee supplements and regularly because I read about how many micrograms you need for dosage and how often and and I thought I was doing my thing. Let me tell you, the beef schooled me. It schooled me because I don't know. Like, basically I'm like, everything now, as much as I possibly can, absolutely must come from my animal sources, because it's just, if you need some zinc, eat some oysters. If you need some, like, go for the natural method, because your body is a part of nature. There's only so much you can fool it.
Because we know a lot, but there's so much more to know.
So, I agree. Like you were saying, all the unknown compounds, because nature packages, like it's the animal flesh, and it's got all this natural structure that we haven't identified.
I mean, some people are just calling it protein.
Yeah. Yeah.
Protein diet. Yeah, no, absolutely. We don't know. There's so much more that we're learning. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It sounds like I'm so happy for you that you found your way.
Yay.
And I'm happy for you that you found your way.
Thank you. I'm so happy for you too. And I hope this helps. I hope this reaches somebody and they think about it and they try it.
Yeah. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it does. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing that. And I think it's really interesting, this idea of about histamine too, because I think that there's actually quite a few carnivore colleagues that, still struggle with, figuring that out about histamine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a happy holiday.
You too.